Hello everyone. Today's poem is Xiaoya 采绿, a Xiaoya poem from the Book of Songs. This poem is a typical women complaining poetry, which is about a wife, a girl in loving, complaining to her husband or to her beloved. And we have one this type poem in the Wei wind, 薄希, the Lord. So it's the wife of the Lord complaining to the Lord. And this poem is quite similar. A lord living in the capital area, and also very likely this lord has a position in the central government. So the wife is complaining about her husband, that her husband has been away from home for too long. So this is a complaining, or in other way, thinking of her husband. Anyhow, there's a little bit difference between the Wei wind, 薄希, to this poem. In the Wei wind is quite simple thinking or complaining to her husband. And in this poem, the wife or the poet, the female poet, paralleled the relationship between a wife and a husband to the relationship between two states. Why she could make this comparison, this parallel? Because the Lord, her husband, is a lord for a piece of land. And this wife, of course, is from another family of lords with a different family name somewhere. Could be very far, take weeks and months journeys, and finally married to the capital area. So she was full of conscious of politic things, like today, in a very developed place, city, especially in the capital of a country, the people lived in the capital is of much more sense, much more consciousness to the politic things, rather than the people living in the countryside, living in the rural areas for lifelong. So we can compare these two poems, the Wei wind, 薄希, to this poem, to find the same something similar, and we also could clearly taste the difference between these two poems. And what's more, the wife of a lord, in general, is rather equivalent in the political life within the state. So in the term, the lord of the state was so called as 君子. We saw this term many times in the Book of Songs. And the wife of the lord was so called as junior lord, 小君 in Chinese, but basically they share the almost same equality in the daily life, in the political life in that state. The title 采绿 means collecting the grass of 绿. The grass of 绿 actually is the raw material to make the green dyewear. And in the second paragraph, 采蓝, to collecting the grass of 蓝, which is also the raw material to make the blue dyewear. So this is the housework for a housewife, even for the wife of the state lord. Okay, let's get to the poem. 终朝采绿, 不盈一襜. In the whole morning, I'm collecting the grass of grain, and I just collected so small, not enough for a hold of both hands. 朝 or 朝 means morning. 终 is until the end of the morning, so which means the whole morning. 采绿 collecting the grass of grain, which is the material for the grain dyewear. 不盈一奜 盈 is full of or full. 奜 which is to hold something with both hands together, so it's not a big quantity of grass, so it's a very, very little grass. Okay, the second pair of sentences. 予发曲局，薄言归沐. My hair is turning curved and stuffed together, and I'm feel so hurry to go back to wash my hair. So just imagine this is a noble wife. She should be very careful of his outlook, of his costume. But even her husband was not in home. She's still so careful with her outlook. 女为悦己者容. The girl make up herself only for her beloved. So this phrase in the later generations, I think 100% apply to this poem as well. So when a woman sort of make up herself, which actually means she's thinking of her husband, her beloved, and she want to make love with her husband or her beloved. So the first paragraph basically used the very typical writing technique, 兴 as the starting sentence, describing the woman was collecting the grass in the field. Anyhow, her heart or her thinking was not with that work. The result shows us she actually doesn't do much of her job. She only has a very, very few grass collected. And then the second pair of sentences point out the girl actually was thinking of her husband, and the turnout is she wants to make herself cleaner and more beautiful, which is the thing, which is another duty, which we could say another duty as a wife. The second paragraph is almost identical with the first paragraph. Let's see. 终朝采蓝，不盈一襜. The wife was collecting the grass of blue all the morning, and finally she just collected a very few of them. The grass of blue is not more than a hold of grass. The character 襜 means to use both hands to hold the apron on the two corners. So use the apron as a basket to hold the collected grass of blue. And also the blue gave us some indication on the season. It's the summer time. Okay, the next sentence. 五日为期，六日不詹. So 5 days is our date, but until the 6 days, you didn't come back. So this here is a little bit hard to understand for today's people. So if we referring to the code of conduct in the Zhou dynasty, we know for the noble person, especially the lord of the state, he has 9 women as his wife, the very decent wife, 妻子, and some other wife, so-called as T or 直替 or 应. So there's many terms, but basically 9 women. And the 9 women was defined into 5 groups, and the decent wife is a group by herself, and then these 5 groups was defined to serve the husband every night in turn. 8 wise wife served the husband for 4 days, and the decent wife served the husband for 1 night. So this means for the past 5 days, the wife didn't have a chance to meet the husband once. Anyhow, which means they didn't follow the code of conduct. And until the 6 days, the husband didn't come to the wife yet. So something wrong, something wrong. Something is not happened, not follow the code of conduct. So when we repair the first 2 paragraphs, in the first paragraph, the poet, the wife, the decent wife, expressed that she was doing her duty and she was thinking of her husband so much. She was so in love with her husband. And in the second paragraph, that the poet, the decent wife, tell us that something is wrong. The husband didn't come to her per the code of conduct. He should come to her every 5 days, and until the 6 days, her husband didn't come to her so far. Something is wrong. It's so wrong. So the next 2 paragraphs is the reasons or the wife want to persuade her husband to follow the code of conduct and come to her every 5 days. And let's see how the wife persuade her husband in the time of Zhou dynasty, 3,000 years ago. Okay, the 3rd paragraph. 之子于狩，言韔其弓。之子, the man outside. So in the Zhou dynasty, or in the most of the time in the ancient China, the man is the person responsible for the things outside of the home. The wife was the host, or is the master responsible for the things inside the home. So they share the almost same responsibility for the home, but in different places. The wife was for the indoor, the husband for the outdoor. 之子 means the son, the man outdoor. So which is here in this poem referring to her husband. So your man, my husband, when you're talking about doing a hunting, the key is to pull your bow with your skills. 韔 means to pull the bow. 之子于钓, the next sentence. 之子于钓, 言纶之绳. So my husband, as a man, when you doing the fishing in the lake, in a pond, it means you should to wave your hook all the time. 轮 the character 轮 means to wave the rope all the time. Okay, the third paragraph basically use the two things to make the methodology, or to make her philosophy to her husband. So the first thing is the hunting. So it's a very, very important and frequent things the Lord, the man, doing in the Zhou dynasty, and it was also defined in the code of conduct. So the key things in the hunting game is to pull the bow. So you should be very, very good at pulling your bows, and with that skill you could do a good hunting game. And when you doing your fishing job, you should be very, very good at weaving the rope of that hook. So if you are not good at weaving the rope of that hook, you won't be a good fisherman. So this paragraph actually tells if you are doing something, you should be, there's some of the key things you should be very careful. You should be very good at some of the very key skills. Okay, let's go to the last paragraph. The wife wants to make her point. With her point and the reasoning, she wants to persuade her husband to come back to her. Okay, the first pair of sentences. 其钓维何？维鲂及鱉。So why are you doing this fish job? So, or for what purpose you are fishing? It's for the fang, the fish of fang, and the fish of xu. So fang and xu are two fishes. So here, actually, the general explanation through the history is so wrong, because 其钓维何, with this idiom, we know very clearly. This is the idiom in the Zhou dynasty. It's always talking about a marriage. So 钓 here refers to the marriage. It's just like the marriage in the Zhou dynasty. The man was the man was just like the fisherman. So he was stationed somewhere, and then he used his fish hook to throw into the water and try to fish that girl to his home and become to his wife. And normally a fisherman will fish several fishes, just like the state lord in the Zhou dynasty. He will have 9 wives totally. That's quite similar like the fishing. He will fish 9 fishes, and then all the fishes goes to his own home, became part of the asset of his home. So with this idiom, we know this sentence is about marriage. And then, so the fish of fang and the fish of xu doesn't mean that fish. It means fang, the neighboring states. Yu means the relationship. So that is very true for the Zhou people. The marriage is not the first thing first, of course, to have descendants, but that's doesn't need to be explained. For the marriage, first thing first, you should have to have the descendants. But the second important thing is to make the relationship with your neighborhood states, and may try to make the relationship with your neighborhoods good. So that means 其钓维何，维方及鱜. Why we make this marriage? Because you want to make the relationship with my hometown, with my home states, make a good relationship with my home state. So the wife tried to use the political reason to persuade her husband. Of course, this is part of the code of conduct as well. So the law is part of the political things as well. So we can find it's so interesting in this point. The girl has her love to her husband, but when she wants to persuade her husband back to her side, she never mentioned her feeling, her love to her husband, the lord of the state. She just mentioned our law is like this, and our value, the social value, is like this. You should follow them, and you should come back to me. So interesting in this point. But the general explanation through the history in Chinese history is so wrong, and make this poem as a very boring poem. Okay, let's see the last pair of sentences. 维方及鱜，薄言观者. So, as far as we concerning to the neighboring states and the relationship between the states, what do you think they would say about the current situation? 薄言观者 means the observers is talking so hot and so hurriedly. And so what's the situation? The husband didn't go to his decent wife for quite a long. And this doesn't only impact the relationship between the couple. It severely damages the relationship between the state, this state, with other states, especially the state where the wife from. So the wife actually just make a caution to his husband. Be careful. If you still insist not come to me, not come to my side, what would be the relationship with my home state? Just think about that. Okay, so the poems in the Book of Songs, a lot of them is quite real and interesting, but we need to dig out the interesting part by ourselves. That's for today. Bye-bye.